Alright, so for round one, we have a feature match between Kigoli's Magnezone Miraidon deck and Olith's Gardevoir Great Tusk deck. I'm excited to see if the Great Tusks actually manage to put in a work or not. I think it's going to be pretty tough to properly charge up the attacks, though it's possible that they can use the first attack for just one energy to donk out a Magnemite. In this game, though, we do see Kigoli opens with both copies of Miraidon, and it looks like they are considering making it their active Pokemon. They do end up choosing to go with Magnemite, though, so we'll have to see what happens. Olith opens up with a Varoom, one of their support Pokemon, if it can get to evolve, and we see the baby Miraidon also in Kigoli's deck. 90 damage and 30 bench to, and a 30 snipe to the bench is not particularly strong, but it can help deal with cards like Banette EX with 250, where a Photon Blaster would not KO it, and they could choose to try to retreat and avoid the knockout that way. We do see Tandem Unit being used, and Kigoli is using this as a chance to look through their deck and try to figure out what is prized. We see the second Miraidon come down, and they only have one energy and no generators in hand, so they are going to be struggling to actually get their attackers set up. I think Kigoli was pausing real quick to see if they wanted to use the second Tandem Unit or not, as they might want to save the bench slot for the Klefki. They choose not to use it and attach the energy to Magnemite. We see a Nest Ball coming down from Olith, and I'm going to assume it will grab the Ralts unless they have a fighting energy in hand, in which case they might go for the Great Tusk. We see a Pokeball come out, and I think this is a better choice than Messagoza for most decks, as giving the opponent the chance to also use your effect is usually enough of a downside that being able to use the attacks multiple times, or being able to use the effect multiple times is not worth it. Judge comes out, and really I think that actually helps Kigoli a little bit, though it does seem Olith managed to find that fighting energy and takes a quick KO. Kigoli brings the Magnemite with energy attached to the active spot, and we do see Klefki coming down. We see Klefki in the hand, but it's actually probably not going to come out now that I think about it a little bit more, as they don't have any basic Pokemon with abilities in the deck to counteract with the Klefki. We see Pachirisu, and we have plenty of energy in hand, but we do see Klefki come down anyway, and Judge gets activated. Pokemon Catcher can theoretically gust out the Great Tusk to slow down Olith's assault just a little bit. On a heads, they probably would have chosen to bring in the Varoom to stall. But they get a tail, so it doesn't matter, and now they have to choose whether or not they want to evolve into Magneton. Lightning Ball can be used, but it's probably not worth it, and we do see them go for the one on the bench. Remember that Magnezone EX can attack for just one energy, so it's not that big of a deal. Arven comes out on Olith's side, and we will see what they get. Okay, the chest plate is going to make it even tougher to knock out the Great Tusk, whose 250 HP is already able to survive any individual attack, and an Ultra Ball will be getting them to the Revavroom. It looks like they could be drawing a big 5 cards from that engine ability. Or if their last card is an energy, they could get all 6. Rumbling Engine does activate, and Olith's hand has been completely refilled. Having the Revavroom set up on the bench also means that the effect of any future judges from Kigoli will be minimized. We see another Nest Ball and Ultra Ball. Ultra Ball discarding 2 research indicates that they probably have another supporter in hand, or at least an extra energy to use with Revavroom. Kirlia comes out, Olith simply going for the normal evolution path, as they are not actually running any copies of Rare Candy. Great Tusk deals 40 damage to Klefki, and it goes back to Kigoli. Kigoli opens up with a Magnezone EX, but that 1 Energy Crush is not going to be putting in very much work due to Olith only having 1 energy on the field. Theoretically, if Olith goes up to a total of 6 energy, Magnezone can KO the Great Tusk, but I think Olith is going to play around it. And we see a research come out, drawing all 3 research, or 3 of the 4 from the Rumbling Engine, is pretty bad luck, I'd say, as it means there are now very few supporters left in Olith's deck, but the Rumbling Engine might be enough to get there consistently. We see a second Fighting Energy come down onto the active Great Tusk, and Bedrock Breaker KOs Klefki while also discarding the Messagoza so that Kigoli is unable to use it next turn. Kigoli having to choose what to bring out next. With only 5 Fighting Energy in the deck, it might be worth risking making Magnezone EX active and just assuming they can't KO it, but I can definitely see not wanting to do so. Pachirisu comes down onto the deck, and I've just thought about it a little bit, and I do realize that the Koraidon is a basic with an ability in Olith's deck that I did not consider previously. But I don't think there are any Fighting Energies in the discard pile. I'm not able to check. So I'm not sure whether or not the Klefki was actually slowing down Olith at all. It looks like Great Tusk does manage to find a 3rd energy and grab another KO. With 140 HP remaining, Magnezone is still not able to take a KO with the Magnetic Crush ability, with the attack. We'll have to see if Kigoli gives up a 4th prize card. What they could do is promote this Magnemite and attempt to draw into exactly Electric Generator, as if they can get 2 energy onto Magnezone EX, they will be able to make an attack. We do see a research, but with the Miraidon active, they're also going to need to find a switch. I think the right play has to be to attach the energy to Magnezone and research. Or they could attach it to the active Miraidon and try to get 2 energies off of generators instead of the switch. I don't know the math on that, which is again why I think bringing out the Magnemite would have been the better option. We do see the electric generator, and who knows if it will hit or not. They don't use Nest Ball, and they whiff. I believe there should be 1 Pachirisu left in the deck, so not using the Nest Ball could have been a game loser. Rocky Helmet is going to cause Great Tusk to deal just a little bit more self-damage when it attacks, but Kigoli is going to give up 2 prize cards, and I think it will be quite difficult for them to win the game at this point. Let's go ahead and see if Olith decides to play any cards, or if they are simply going to take the quick KO. We see one of the 2 energy searches come out, followed by an Ultra Ball, discarding 2 energy, helping set up the Gardevoir EX's ability, and another Koraidon EX comes down, though it doesn't look like they plan on actually using any attacks with it this game, as a 4th Fighting Energy goes on to the 2nd Great Tusk. Rumbling Engine refills Olith's hand, and as far as I can tell, the game is more or less over. Great Tusk is low enough now to finally be KO'd by Magnezone. But to claim 6 prize cards before Olith gets even 1 is going to be extraordinarily difficult. Kigoli assessing their options, trying to figure out where to place the energy and whether or not to play Judge. There is also Nest Ball and a potential tandem unit, though I believe the only remaining Pokemon in the deck, apart from possibly a Magneton or Magnezone, is a singular Pachirisu. Though it's possible that the Pachirisu we're seeing is that one, and I am... Oh no, there's only one Pachirisu in the deck list, as we can see on the left. So there are just no options left, and I'm sorry for being confused basically for the last 3 minutes. Magnezone does get a 1 energy KO, and Olith will advance Gardevoir. Now, Olith has the option to either spend a turn with Koraidon, powering up energy from the discard pile, or to simply just start attacking with Gardevoir and trying to win the game that way. Psychic Embrace puts 3 energy on the Gardevoir, powering up its attack. And another fighting energy comes down. So it looks like Olith has been able to find most of the fighting energy in the deck, or actually all of it. And it has not been nearly as much of an issue as I thought it might be while we were talking earlier. We do find Magneton, though it is probably a little bit too late. With 5 energy on the field, the Magnezone is able to deal 250 damage. Penny is not going to work here, as it only applies to basic Pokemon, so the Magnezone cannot heal themselves up. Though it is important to note that the Gardevoir that Great Tusk does not have the possibility of getting another fighting energy on it unless Olith has the 1 copy of Energy Retrieval. Gardevoir has, I want to say, exactly 250 HP remaining, so taking the KO on it is almost certainly better than attempting to gust up the Great Tusk. We do see Pokemon Catcher come out, but it is a Tails. So unless I've done the math wrong, they should be able to get a KO on Gardevoir, and Great Tusk should be unlikely to claim a KO next turn. We do see them just stall with Miraidon, so I'm going to go ahead and assume that my math was off. Oh. Where did the fighting energy come from? Did they play the energy retrieval earlier? Apparently, I have just been asleep this entire game. And, oh, okay. I was misreading the deck list. And it's 8 fighting energy and 5 psychics rather than the other way around. I'm sorry. I had just assumed when I saw the Gardevoir that the psychic energy was going to be the primary one, but this is actually a deck more focused on the fighting types, with Gardevoir EX as a backup attacker. Kigoli opens with Magnemite after a mulligan, and Olith chooses to draw the extra card. It looks like they've opened once again with a Great Tusk, but no Donk because Nest Ball will get the Miraidon, which can then tandem unit and fill up the bench. Kigoli once again taking some time to check the prize cards. We see one Judge, 1 or 2 Research. Looks like they have all the Nest Balls, all the Generators, 11 Energy, so there should be a few Energy prized. And just Miraidon EX number 2 and Magnemite number 2 coming out. EXP Share is a great addition to the deck, helping accelerate the energy even when Lightning Generator is failing you. We see the second tandem unit come out, grabbing Magnemite and deciding whether or not to leave a bench slot open for Klefki. They choose not to, probably just assuming that this Magnemite is going to get knocked out next turn. Now it looks like Kigoli is also not running any copies of Rare Candy, so Magnezone EX will not be coming out next turn. And Kigoli is simply choosing to power up the Baby Miraidon. We see a Ralts come down and then a second Nest Ball to get Varoom. So Olith's field is more or less set up, and they are ready to take a KO on the Magnemite. A Heads from Pokeball can get any Pokemon in the deck, and they decide to round it out with Koraidon EX before dropping another Pokeball and getting Tails this time. On a Heads, likely to have just grabbed the other Great Tusk if it's in the deck. Research comes out, but no other cards get played, so they will go ahead and grab a KO before forcing the Miraidon up. Electric Generator could allow an attack this turn if double energy is located, but just one is found, so it looks like they are choosing to start powering up the Miraidon EX on the bench with the EXP share. This works because they have 2 energy in hand, so they can attach one to Miraidon, or the active Miraidon, and then they can have it faint, give an energy to the bench Miraidon EX due to the EXP share, and then play the final energy and attack for a KO. But I will say I think powering up the Baby Miraidon was a mistake, and last turn they should have started focusing on the Miraidon EX without the EXP share, as it could then have 3 energy on it and be ready to KO while just sacrificing off a Pachirisu or Magnemite this turn. That said, my strategy wouldn't actually have allowed for the KO because it would have only dealt 220. So this way might actually be better, as dealing the 30 chip damage does bring it in range for Photon Blaster, as long as Olith does not find either of those rock chest plates. We see the second Great Tusk come down, and there are some fighting energy in the discard pile. So Olith is going to have to choose between whether to attack or simply start powering up something else. We see Arven come out, and that means they are going to be able to find the rock chestplate and prevent a KO. Energy retrieval coming out to get some fighting energy back from the discard pile makes it sound pretty likely that Olith has no intention of slowing down to charge up. We see an Ultra Ball discarding Gardevoir EX, which I think is pretty telling of them having the other one in their hand. Otherwise, I just can't imagine a world where it's worth getting rid of it just to get the Kirlia. We see an Arven from Kigoli's side now, and that does mean they have the chance to grab an electric generator if they want to. Or they could try finding a path towards a Magnezone EX with Ultra Ball. They'd need to take the Magneton from the deck, but it would be pretty difficult to get it properly powered up given the lack of cards in hand. It looks like they just go for a Pokemon catcher. And the Rocky Helmet is prized, so Arven is only going to be taking the one card from the deck. Palpad shuffles back a couple of supporters, and energy goes on to Miraidon, allowing a Lightning Laser to deal 90 damage plus 30 to the bench. However, they chose the Great Tusk with the Rocky Chestplate, so it's going to deal no damage. We do see the Gardevoir EX come out, of course, and the last card is Research, refilling Olith's hand to 7 once again. Despite having two different types of Pokemon in the deck, Olith is simply doing fine, getting all of the pieces they need. They're drawing the supporters, they're getting Reverroom set up, their big basics are able to attack with just one energy, and due to weakness they're dealing big damage. I'm not sure if this deck will do as well against non-Miraidon decks, but for round number 1, it is going quite well. I also just realized that I forgot to update the scores over here. That's my bad, but we are in game number 2. And Gigantic Tusk takes a quick KO on Miraidon EX. Kigoli sending that one up, probably just a sign that they are conceding the game. They do bring out Magnemite, so it's possible that they are going to try to stall it as long as they can, but in that case, I'm not sure that bringing up the Miraidon with 2 energy attached was their best plan. We do see a Pokemon catcher, which can attempt to stall by bringing in the Koraidon EX, and we see them start to power up Magnemite. And they even consider using the Electro Ball. But no, there are no electric types left on the bench for a tandem unit, and Koraidon EX is now at just 220 HP remaining, meaning if Miraidon somehow gets a magical play it could knock it out, though it would then immediately faint to Great Tusk. Penny for the disrespect, and Great Tusk comes back out, ready to KO Magnemite. They even have the Rumbling Engine to recharge their hand, and we do see the concede, leading to a swift 2-0 by Olith.